players. That means it's time for Champion Select. M3 versus World Elite, game number 2 as we swap sides now. Nunu Aluka, the same bans I believe from M3, and Azir banned up by World Elite once again. So
you fell in the hole. You said Nunu Aluka.
I did. It's Sion. I mean, that is Aluka effectively in this matchup. Kalista banned there as well, but yes, I did mean Sion.
So Kalista banned. Very standard bans so far, at least against World Elite when we're talking about the Sion pick. Honestly, not much has to change for World Elite. They'll be fine. There's probably no prized first pick. There was no real crown jewel for World Elite in terms of their picks. They got what they wanted and they excelled in those champions. We're going to wait to see if M3 want to throw any curveballs. Will there be one of the mid lanes coming through? Cassiopeia makes it through the picks and bans. I don't know about banning Alistar over Cassiopeia after Dade showed such a wonderful performance, and he's already confident on that champion based on the last time he's played it. Now he can just lock it in again.
I mean, I think we'll learn a lot about the Cassiopeia Azir tension because we've seen those two bans so often on opposite sides of the screen. But Lupa, you said it already, I think Hecarim's a fine pick here. Lupa's a fine Hecarim player. He's just going to reset himself and run it back.
And I have to think that's just a confidence call from Lupa himself saying, okay, guys, I will do it this time. They're prioritizing it over strong champions. Sion, Gragas, Cassiopeia, all available. If they can get both those champions, Cassio and Hecarim, that's a good draft for M3. It's interesting to see where these two teams prioritize a really powerful meta pick like Cassio.
Yeah, and they look to Sivir briefly, but don't quite lock it in yet here. Rek'Sai not available, was banned away by M3 as their last ban, so take that jungler away from Spirit. You can see Aluka sort of popping his head, figuring out what he wants to pick, getting the communication from the coaches, but Thresh, Gragas looks to be their first two picks.
And it's probably going to be the same matchup in the top lane, but no pressure to really lock in that Gnar anytime soon. It's all about getting one of the pool of 5 to 6 priority champions that seems to get through every pick and ban phase on patch 5.8. Just a note to the viewers, we are still on patch 5.8. Not quite 5.9 in the LPL, so maybe we'll skip to the heady 5.10 Echo days in a couple of weeks, but for now, sticking on patch 5.8, can't be considering the Rengar. I think it's Lee Sin time again, pastry time.
I think you're right. I mean, looking at Sejuani as well, but looks best when applying a lot of pressure. Spirit, of course, taking that Gragas away, so that's not an option coming in for Condi, but might just stick to some of the more meta picks as well. The Annie also being flashed might be a Love City champion. M3 going to mix things up ever so slightly with their next few picks. It is Sejuani Annie.
Annie, very good lane matchup against Thresh, so that part's just fine. It's not going to be Annie top as far as we can see. That is definitely the M3 special, but in this particular situation, Lupa's already locked in the Hecarim with Teleport Smite. You never want to give up Sivir Annie. That's definitely the EDG special when we're talking about completed bot lanes. They can happily pick up the Gnar. They're under no pressure to show their mid laner, so they will give Dade the blind pick. Cassio, as safe a blind pick mid laner as you can choose. But so far, M3 not looking to commit to that champion, despite how high priority it's been in multiple scenes.
Yeah, neither are World Elite, and both of these players have played it recently. They both played it in week 1, I believe. But it's Gnar Sivir there for World Elite, going to again give their mid laner the last possible picks on either side of the draft. Could, of course, be a Dade Annie, but that's fairly unlikely. But a fun note, she is actually known as being an Annie main, so kind of cute there to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, casters have been saying that since Shia joined the lineup. Still haven't seen that mid Annie. Maybe I know,
once.
Did Zhao who someone played it. I think it was Zhao who played it one game back in the LPL spring. I think you have to take Cassio. I mean, purely because Hecarim's going to naturally lose lane against Gnar. You need to pick a winning mid lane because you've got this Sejuani that World Elite have already fallen into the trap of picking weak lanes with Sejuani and getting invaded upon. Already a powerful jungler in Gragas picked by the enemy team. That's why I thought the Cassio priority would have come much earlier. They're at least going to have one strong lane. Orianna versus Cassio has evolved as a pretty even matchup by Orianna, and she has Orianna looked very comfortable. Hold on a second. Yep, it is the Orianna locked in. It was swapped instantly, so I was like, wait, is that a Thresh mid? But no, of course.
It is.
Just some swapping coming through.
Yeah, he's going to get his Orianna once more. We'll take the cleanse back into the matchup. Makes a lot of sense versus all the CC. And that is what M3 basically have here as far as teamfight goes. Tons of AoE CC between Hecarim, Sejuani, Cassiopeia, and Annie. They are 4 high-impact teamfight ultimates.
But importantly, World Elite do have the Gragas against Cassio. If you bounce that Cassio away from a fight as a short to medium range mage, aren't able to do much damage. So we wait to see how those displacement ultimates like the Shockwave and the Gragas ultimate are used. We see this matchup once again. Lupa definitely not want a repeat of the turret dive shenanigans.
No, he's going to want to show off a bit more here as he's moved swiftly through the jungle matchup. Now into the mid lane with Dade versus Shia. SMLZ actually going to play the reverse matchup now, so on the Lucian versus the Sivir. And last but not least, it's Annie, an LPL special from Spring, is finally back up against Thresh.
The laning matchup's fine against the Thresh. The completed bot lanes, Sivir Thresh against the Annie Lucian. Plenty of power across both those lanes. It's, again, a very even draft. The only big difference, the Sejuani jungle, going to need a bit of pressure from the lanes. Not sure if they're going to get that from Hecarim. So Dade, he's already shown once that he can play this Cassio, which was a surprise to us, even me as an analyst, that he was able to play it with such proficiency. He's going to need to do it again, because if he loses that mid lane matchup, if Orianna gets the pressure there, it opens up Sejuani to really be bossed around.
It does, and looks like maybe smooth sailing for Waddle. We're going to find out as we get onto the Rift. And we're back with M3 versus World Elite as World Elite find themselves up finally with a win in the summer split. Only took them a week this time, not 3 like last time in spring, and looking to make it 2-0 and full 3 points against their, I guess, long-ish time rivals M3.
4 men committed to the top side, so maybe we'll see a lane swap at least attempt to be initiated, not spotted out entering this brush. Hecarim went very aggressive, then backed out, and just spots a couple of members of World Elite. So that was actually surprisingly good forethought from Lupa to not die when he could have face-checked 4.
Yeah, nice ward there. So gets away. Conan, not a mind reader, doesn't just throw the blind hook, feeling that Lupa might be there. No tremor sense either to spot them out. So wards just going to be exchanged. Just 2 different wards from either side. Actually over onto World Elite's blue buff as well. And Dade going to look for some passive stacks, but just missing the first Q.
Just eludes the Q. I believe that they're trying to stop Hecarim from picking up the Gromp first. That's the great thing about being on the blue side. The first camp you pick up is the Gromp, so naturally going to be able to ride that Gromp back into combat at level 1, so really help with your level 1 trading in lane. Now going to be forced with the wards being put down to start on the Raptors, which not as big a boon there for the Hecarim players, and it is the lane swap, the red side lane swap being initiated by World Elite.
I mean, I guess they want to get out of the Lucian Annie lane, very aggressive and decent in the matchup. So we saw Mystic take it in the 2v2 on the Lucian side and do just fine here. So can't blame them, and I actually do like the swap from World Elite.
I actually think it's questionable, Patience. I'm going to disagree with you. The main factor is that Sejuani in a 2v1 situation gets hit a bit, so we're going to see less of the Gragas getting in the face of Sejuani and counter jungling. This is, of course, what LGD were famous for doing back in playoffs, is engineering a 2v1 wherever possible with a Cinderhulk jungler like the Sejuani, especially wants to be passive in the early levels to farm up. So already Sejuani getting a safer early game. But more importantly, the other factor that gets included in these situations is that your support is less accountable. Your support can leave lane. And we're talking about Annie, who has that CC available level 1, level 2. So the Annie's going to be freed up. The Sejuani's going to get a better early jungle. With how the pathing's gone, though, it seems like M3 are going to end up 3 buffs.
Yeah, I mean, they clearly knew about the lane swap because Lupa is double jungling in their spot of the map, but it might just be 2v2 now. Spirit
Level 2.
gonna find Lupa. Condi comes in as a Lucas level 1. It's forced to flash away, almost transforming back there. 2 members come down for World Elite, but I think you're right, M3 are gonna lose those buffs.
Some really weird pathing coming through from M3, and now they've basically denied themselves any hope of picking up the enemy blue buff. Annie needs to go there and get wards around the area pronto. Does have her trinket ward available. Now you can see they're going to actually cut through mid lane to get there as fast as possible. So if that's all they lose from this is a bit of pressure and actually pick up a flash, that's more than M3 really deserved, because that was a very weird misrotation, what has been very standard vertical jungling throughout 2015.
Yeah, in fact, World Elite are actually in the top half of the map now, so maybe looking to push, but some weird jungle pathing early on in this game means that we actually are going to trade buffs diagonally, which is super rare in the lane swap.
Look, M3 get more than they deserve, as I mentioned previously. They do pick up this blue buff. They can look to go for a mirror 4-man push in the bottom lane. We do see the recalls coming back, though. It was just the fact that Aluka hadn't hit 2. Had already skilled the boomerang toss, so of course he was helping with the jungle follow. They just really couldn't take a trade. So dumb luck got M3 an advantage with the flash.
Yep, nice stuff there as Dade is going to force Shie back as well. Actually, 10 CS up already. Condi and Loop are going to take away the Wolves and get the Gromp here. M3 You said it already, a bit lucky is with the way it worked out, but they're getting so much of this early invade.
Look at the CS difference to the jungle followers. 20 to 13. That's a huge advantage that you get with the smite, of course. You pick up all those extra camps. So the early game has been surprisingly kind to M3, and you can see it in the gold lead. 600 gold with nothing of note happening in the early game.
I mean, 80 carries fairly similar, but Aluka level 2 going to try and safely pick up some experience, but Shear's going to come back. Aluka will rejoin Spirit to move back into the jungle. I mean, Shear now level 4, back to double Durans once again, so feeling a bit threatened here by Dade, but Waterlead have to do something soon. It might be a bit risky, especially if M3 detect it, but they might have to do something like push or dragon, because they need to get something back.
They have a 3-man group that's looking to either push in bot or start the dragon. Given the minimap situation, they're definitely cheating towards the dragon. With the fact that they've picked up the Scuttle Crab, though, it's not an option, and now 3 members really need to force Lucian back under turret. Gragas gives up the journey, but Conan and Aluka just want to stop this freeze that Lucian set up.
And now Looper getting CS here as well, going to push the wave in and let it reset back. So he's just fine, not even that behind there on the top side of the map. Has a Ruby Crystal actually to help his lane against Mystic. Again, one of the weirdest lane swaps I've seen in a while. And we see a lot of them in the LPL, but somehow, through both teams making mistakes arguably in the early stages, M3 end up massively ahead of Spirit, diving in there trying to steal away a Kroggy, but he's actually on the wrong side. Now Lucian going to come back through. Conan's here safely, but level 4 to level 3 here. They're going to have a smite off, and Condi's getting that Krog.
Yeah, and Spirit had more friendlies in the area. Orianna actually moved towards the bottom first, would have reacted first, and only now just getting up to where the Krogs were at, but still Condi extends his jungle lead. Very bizarre early game, given that World Elite initiated all these shenanigans with the lane swap on the red side, going to the top lane against Double Smite. They were always going to fall behind in the levels. They were punished a little bit just from luck, as I said, just given that M3 misrotated to their own blue buff. And all the advantages compiling for an 800 gold lead for M3. It's nothing massive, but better than expected for sure, this game for M3.
I mean, Love City's level 2, so he does have to be careful. But Aluka and Conan, level 3 each right now. Not the dual lane we might have expected here. And SMLZ is having a completely free lane on the Lucian. Now, granted, Mystic is as well, but these turrets aren't falling anytime soon. And M3, they've just gotten so much further ahead. It's Looper, especially with that smite. 16 to 6 CS is the big difference in top lane.
So turret dives caused M3's downfall. They're looking for another one in Love City.
Yeah, Conan wrong side there. Aluka's already out here, but Conan is going to get dove on. Kill will go to Dade, and that's first blood.
All right, Duo Dade, not necessarily being engaged just yet. No Magi's in the inventory, but they pass over the gold. This is something they did in the first game that didn't get them the big advantage they were looking for, but Dade gets a successful roam. Wave control goes back to Gier, but things looking good for Master3.
You can see Mystic in the top side, almost forced to push in Looper now because Hecarim can contest the lane, but M3 trying to answer with a push of their own, keeping the minions far back, trying to proxy here as Aluka wants to make his way back down to the bottom lane, and a giant spell already for Dade. Actually, only just noticed he has Barrier as his summoner spell of choice, not the Cleanse that's been fairly popular and no offensive summoner, so very safe start for Dade, but he does get the first blood.
Honestly, it's only really the Thresh Death Sentence or the Gnar ultimate to cleanse. You never really want to opt into just the cleanse for the Gnar ultimate, and you can do your best to avoid the Thresh Death Sentence. But crucially, what this build, he's got Giant Spell, Tear, and now the Barrier. This is soak up that Shockwave damage, which won't really need to be respected now with the Giant Spell till 3 items perhaps from the Orianna, and just do consistent damage. It's literally the, if you want to trade, let's go, let's trade. And I have the higher base values with the Twin Fang being on such a short cooldown.
Yeah, and Orianna can definitely compete in the burst elements here, I think, in this mid lane, but not in sustained damage. And Dade already getting some passive stacks down. Now with his belt building in to what will eventually be a Seraph as well to be nice and tanky. Even Looper going to do a bit of jungling here and make sure Dade picks up his blue buff. A much better start here for M3 as a whole. 1,000 gold up now, and Dade especially has been the biggest benefactor of all of this early game.
So what I wanted to see Spirit doing is that when finally a Looper commits to actually laning in this top side, invade the Gromp, invade this blue side jungle of Master3, and ensure that you're just forced to have the smite in lane. If you keep the smite accountable by both freezing and taking that side of the jungle, suddenly he has a useless summoner and can't really achieve anything. When you're just going to be building health, which is all he has, a Ruby Crystal in this particular case, you're picking up the Gromp buff, suddenly you're that much better at clearing minions, suddenly you're that much harder to trade with. So you want to punish the Smite jungler by jungling on his side of the jungle, ensuring that he can't exit lane or stay in lane. He's not getting experience either way. Spirit's been a lot more passive. Finally, this mini wave's going to hit turret, and let's see if Lupa can actually pick up any, because Conan honestly should be trying to force a little bit of danger.
I mean, I like this rotation a lot from World Elite, trying to take this turret, and Dade being quite active once again on the Cassiopeia, moving between the lanes, finds itself some vision. Love City, though, gets the kill onto Aluka, but Spirit going to try and answer back here. Level 6, but can't go in at all, it looks like, and Love City gets away with it, gets a second kill for his team.
Only person at bot, so there's nothing they could do. Ult already used in top. They knew that multiple members were coming. I like the rotation from Condi and Dali. They were already both moving to top the moment they saw the stacked wave, trying to relieve some pressure from Lupa. And look at this CS advantage. 42 CS for Lupa compared to his lane compatriot Aluka, who's kind of been just smashed around the map, tried to hold in mid, tried to find experience where he can. Hasn't found very much with 13 CS.
No, found almost nothing now as the Dragon has been started for World Elite. Spirit and Xie going to team up here. No vision currently present for M3, so looks to give that one away. World Elite going to stick their Druid lane back in the top lane, so going to get the Dragon despite having two people tops. Actually kind of clever, but at this point they get the Dragon. They really want the turret in the top side because Aluka, the faster he can get back to a decent farming spot as the turret does go down, the better it is, because you said it already, he's horribly behind.
And M3 are just committing to helping out Lupa, extending this lead between Hecarim and Nah over the first Dragon. I think it's an excellent decision. This is a matchup that we know changes depending on item builds and just general time in the game. Lupa's comfortably going to pick up his Cinderhulk in the next 3 or 4 minutes. Aluka's already shown that he's not really interested in building for lane. Now even items like the Barmy Cinder and Randuin's are going to be delayed, so even his team fight choices are going to be delayed, and his 1v1 choices just never going to come. So I feel like Lupa's going to have both the split pushing and team fight advantage. And that's always the danger. They've picked this unfamiliar Nah. He's played Nah, but again, I've yet to be convinced by it. And I feel like this game, Master3 have played around the Nah Hecarim matchup to really help Lupa take this one out.
And you know, again, after the last game, Lupa might need the help, but it's going to benefit them so much in the late game. Getting this Hecarim nice and fed, even setting up a gank here potentially, as we've got 3 people in the top side. Love City has his stun prepped and ready to go. Is not level 6 though, but still plenty of damage and CC.
Spirit's going to go for the longest range ward possible here.
Does find it, but Condi will go in instead. Stun lands on for Love City, but it's 3v3 now in the top side. She has already rotated, so 4v3 once he makes it up there. Conan, bit of an optimistic hook there, but now it's World Elite protecting Aluka in the top lane.
World Elite had a great understanding of what was happening there. We saw the danger pings come up very early. Xie was going to be the first person to rotate. So savvy play from them. And Spirit, obviously the most tanky, had flash, had explosive cast. That was the safest way they could engineer the information they needed.
Yep, and you can see Dade continue to clear minions out, trying to dodge the ball here, respecting Oriana's range. I don't know. He might have... Dade. What is this?
Look, if that's his only misplay this game, it's going better.
Well, I mean, there's no Magi's being looked at just yet for Dade. It looks like Rylai's actually might be one of his early-ish choices with the Giant Spell, but options here for the Cassiopeia, who's just having a field day in this matchup. Again, these champions, especially at this point, are not created equal, and it's crazy to see Oriana getting pushed out of a game, but lane, sorry, but that's just the Cassiopeia to Infang.
It's a good build also. It's the fact that he's going to be super tank. He's going to be an early Seraph's Rylai's, has the barrier already. World Elite only have bursts, especially in the early game. Not really going to be huge bursts from Oriana until very late. So it's going to be decent bursts in the mid. Maybe the Gnar ultimate, maybe the Sivir Boomerang Blade. They're trying to blow a flash. That's what they're trying to do here.
Spirit coming in, but Dade uses the ulti a little late, but will slow Spirit. Good shockwave lands onto Lupa, but the ulti's just going to come in instead. Great ult from Spirit to keep him safe, but just gets knocked to safety as he body slams away. A great teleport though for Lupa, but Dade not quite getting the kill he wanted.
But look, the health is very high for Dade. That's a preview of fights. Dade's going to disregard the base values from the likes of Xie, Spirit, even Aluka's ultimate. Aluka's not going to be building Black Cleaver and really punishing the build. With the 2,500 effective health you have with Seraph's Shield and Rylai's, the consistent damage on Dade should be the biggest factor in team fights till very late in this game.
And if Dade had maybe one other item, even just something like Archangel's completed, not even Seraph.
Would have been a star.
Yeah. That might have been a very different story for Spirit's gank. Cassiopeia feels like a juicy gank target because she's so immobile without her flash, but you saw there Dade, with Lupa coming in especially, almost had the 2v1 in his pocket.
Just wait to the aggressive positioning in fights, especially when Flash is up. Flash, one of the abilities, whether it's Explosive Cask, the Oriana Shockwave, maybe even just a Boomerang Blade from Mystic. You're just too tanky to die to the rest of the damage, and your damage is off the chart. Standing damage from Cassiopeia, items or no, is super, super high in terms of base base values, and that's why the Giants belt build is really smart in this case.
Yep, I like it a lot. Shea finishes Athene, so that first major item completed now for the Orianna. Skirmisher Saber Cinderhawk is done for Lupa. Aluka again on the Barmy Cinder train, but a lot of thrift shopping there as he's still 40 CS behind. Sightstone done for Condi as well. He's also got his Cinderhawk and an Avarice Blade again for SMLZ. I don't know what it is about the LPL, but everyone is buying Avarice Blade.
Everyone's just priced into them. I believe it's just the flexibility. People are really cotton on to the fact that even on champions like Siva, Yomu's Ghost Blade is really strong. It makes your poke super, super strong. Specifically, your Boomerang Blade chunks out people with the extra 20 armor penetration early. You can go for a one-item power spike with, say, BF sort into Yomu's Ghost Blade and do a lot of damage ever since the Infinity Urge nerfs came in. I was expecting more early Brutalizer to go along with a BF sword because it's the most, if you're a caster AD champion, which Civ is kind of on the cusp, not quite Graves, but more caster than a lot of AD carries, you can do a lot of poke damage and a lot of burst damage with the early Brutalizer. And if it's just a static Shiv, again, it's one of those juggling acts. It fits in the builds very early, and it's been a lot of passive early games. It hasn't been killer mid action. We remember LPL Spring. It was so common that one team could have as many kills as minutes, let alone both teams put together, was basically the norm. 2 kills in 15 minutes, low kill game last game as well. Disappointing for some of our bloodthirstier fans, but it suits the Avarice Blade investment banker build, that's for sure.
It does indeed, and Dade's also gone back, speaking of money, and done a bit of shopping himself. So Rylas is now completed as Mystic, maybe getting aggressed on, but he's been remarkably safe here in the bottom side. It feels like he's been 1v2 for at least a couple minutes here in this game, but even on CS, also with the Bankers investment blade there coming in as well. But Dade, I love the Null Magic Mantle there because another Dade special may soon be upon us.
Mercury treads, it's always the way, Patient Time. It's going to come in, that's for sure. I feel like he should have gone a bit more offensive, but he already has the completed Rylai's, which is a nice burst of AP. 100 AP from that item now because they removed 100 health, gave it 20 bonus AP. It's going to suit the Cassiopeia for sure in this situation. Haven't been able to keep attention onto the passive stacks, but obviously probably doing just fine. Has been keeping the poison up. Second Dragon is maybe a tipping point slightly towards World Elite. Everything else going wonderful for Master3, but Lupa, he's certainly having none of it, helping push in the mid lane.
Yeah, I like this a lot. Rotating down, not using his teleport because he doesn't have it. Aluka with his is going to put a bit more pressure on, but Outer Turret's already dead. Not a whole lot else Aluka can get done here, and Lupa's in position with his ultimate. He's got his smite up as well, either for the Dragon or in a champion with the Saber. M3 are brilliantly positioned to try and take out this Dragon, and they're straight onto it.
Okay, but Dai doesn't have blue buff. Remember, when he played Cassio, they were very smart to give him blue buff every time they went onto Baron, so the Dragon's falling pretty slowly.
Yeah, teleport down, double smites are going to secure it for M3, but Dade needs to line up an ulti. Shockwave onto Lupa, or Luca trying to join in, but he gets ulted up by Condi, who's now going to flash away. Lupa diving into the backside. Dade's already used his ultimate. Condi gets clipped out there. Heal used by SMLZ to protect his support. Kona gets low and will fall there to Lupa. Mystic now going to jump in. He's trying to get somebody dead in the back, but he'll just fall himself. Fluff CD gets low, but will not fall, and it's a 3-1 win plus the Dragon.
And that's what Dade can do. He has no cares about the damage coming through from World Elite, and even though he couldn't even keep the poison up, even though his mana pool wasn't the most sustainable, just one Twin Fang is 35% slow for a second and a half, doing good, decent damage, and just the target selection was whoever Dade slowed, and it worked perfectly for Master3.
It did indeed. Ashia getting poked out as well. Dade, the Twin Fang does give some mana refresh with the poison units as well when you take them out, so able to stay in the lane here. And Blue Buff's great on Cassio, especially in fights, I agree, but Dade just sticking in the lane, pushing Shia back, and Lupa might even fancy a dive.
He's considering his options. Maybe the red buff still is what he's thinking. I think he had the timer on it. Gonna be sad to find that it's no longer available. No dive, really, because, of course, no turret in the mid lane.
True.
Actually, there is. It's just the model.
Yep, Orianna's big old portrait getting in the way there on the mini-map, but only one turret actually down in this entire game so far, and it's World Elite that have owned that top turret since about minute 8, I think. But watch this team fight again.
Watch the replay. Notice this is not Dade necessarily bursting out members. It's a lovely ultimate. It's just onto Conan. The burst, it's not there. The items aren't there for it, and it's the consistent damage from Lupa and Dade that's the big factor. Conan's going to fall down to Dade. That's the next champion he's going to select. It looked a bit hairy. The health value's got low, but not low enough for the consistent damage, but another fight.
Another massive fight. M3 now getting womboed. Spirit ulties them in. Dade, though, comes out on top with a kill. Mystic's going to go down next. Spirit going to get low, but Shea looks for a shockwave. Everyone flashes out, and Looper only one to go down. Spirit maybe falls there. The Gromp gives him some nice health back, but Condi over the top trying to take him out. It's Shea that they want instead. Looper diving in, uses his ulti, and it's another 3-1 win.
They keep fighting against Dade, and they do not have the damage to kill him. It's what I was trying to say, is that before the death cap is completed, before another big item is completed, they just have no way to kill Dade. He was only on 400-500 health, but he already has 1850 health. This Seraphs is going to be coming in very soon, going to be 2,500 effective health, and it's going to be easy times for Dade.
Yeah, the effective spell bump from the Twin Fang helping out, and it only gets worse, unfortunately, for WOD Elite when the Seraphs will come through as well. Tier going to be close to fully stacked at this stage of the game. Looper's even returning now, and he's got a Fade and the Home Guard boots completed. You can see Looper, first Tech Room game, literally everything goes wrong, including, you know, a self-inflicted kill there that just gifted over to Aluka. All of a sudden, M3 tighten things up, and everything looks much better.
Isn't it great? They were confident enough to first pick the Hecarim and make it work. Both those things had to happen, because what a depressing world it would be if they picked the matchup and he lost it again. Got a lot more help from his jungler in mid. They were always there. Dade was causing a lot of pressure, always cheating towards topside, giving up CS just to help out the Hecarim. And credit to Looper, stepping up with the extra attention he got from his teammates.
Yeah, really nice stuff from M3, and Dade's now got his Seraphs. Mystic, though, is going to get the turret in the bottom side, so WOD Elite, actually, again, the only 2 turrets in the game belonging to them. So M3, a little bit slower this time around objectives, lots more team fight, with all their big ultimates seems to be more of what they prefer, but they've got a dragon. They'll get some turrets eventually if they get some picks. It's just a matter of Dade staying safe. And with Shea moving that far forward, he knows Spirit's nearby.
Doesn't have any summoners, still needs to be careful.
Oh, gets knocked back. Their ulti comes in as well. Shockwave getting even more mini-stuns into the wall. Shea, though, will get the kill there. Not enough room for Dade, and a good kill for the Orianna.
Really nice mechanics between the two, sidestepping ultimates, playing it smartly. They finally punished Dade, knowing he didn't have any summoners available, couldn't turn it around. They're extending this, stealing away the blue as well. Is this the start of a mini renaissance from WOD Elite? Because it'd be a welcome one. They've been dictated to for 20 minutes, but turned around in style.
Well, Spirit was at very slow goings in his early jungle. Now starting to step things up with a nice gank onto Dade. Blue buff does go to SMLZ, so a nice steal, there, from M3 as they take away WOD Elite's blue buff. Dragon back in a minute 30, though, and Merctread's here for Dade, now ready for the next big team fight. And Looper, one big ultimate can change it all. And I think M3 are the ones that want to try and take this dragon fight.
Dade's got big items. So he picks up Seraph's Embrace, the transformation already complete, and the Merctreads, now survivable, and going to do huge, consistent damage with the extra magic resist, helping out with the nice health stat that he's managed to achieve. Jie does not have anywhere near the death cap that is the start of a burst build coming through from WOD Elite. The only question mark I had for M3 is that you don't have a hyper carry with Dade, and there was maybe the scenario that if one of the members fell behind, for example, if Lucian fell behind, maybe the fights would look worse, but now Lucian is going to be putting out more damage than Mystic, and Dade's already super strong, so they have 3 damage dealers as Looper. Not quite Trinity Force, but he's going to be doing respectable damage. He still is a big thorn in the side of at least Mystic on that team. M3 have got multiple damage dealers. Condi's had an uninterrupted early jungle, managed to stack some health with this Aegis, which will do great job against what is already going to be a fairly underwhelming Shockwave. Item tuning, suiting Master3, next dragon in 30 seconds. WOD Elite probably feel like they have to contest, but can they realistically contest? Because my first answer is no.
I mean, I guess we'll find out soon as both teams are getting some vision around the dragon. WOD Elite seems to have the upper hand right now, but that is M3's Scuttlecrab. They've had great control of that little monster all game long, and Looper's actually gone back. He's got a Sheen to add in, so not quite the Triforce, but a good amount of burst to really try and take out one of these carries. And you can see his positioning there as well. No teleport, but already on the flank of WOD Elite.
I think he's trying to cause question marks because he wants to delay till he can teleport Home Guard into a fight. If he pushes up, he's hoping that's going to cause a defensive rotation, but this is pure offense.
Yeah, Dade gets stunned in there, but not quite enough. Condi launches in. Good ulti. Loves it. He jumps straight in. Shockwave will land in, and Aluka going to dive in as well. Looper now late to the party, has to go back in, but Mystic's cutting around wonderfully. Shea going to get taken out by Condi. Looper going to look to take up Mystic as well, and Dade somehow still alive. Manages to get the last few kills and an ace for M3.
Between the spell vamp and high health, no one can take down Dade. They think about doing Baron, but but crucially, once more, no blue buff on Dade makes that an objective too far. You need the blue buff so that if you ever get contested, you can actually turn around for damage, because with Twin Fang, you have that risk of going out of mana, just going straight on the objective, even with the blue buff. Without the blue buff, almost a guarantee, so you would not be fight ready. Smart of them to back away from doing the Baron, too optimistic there, and at least get the Dragon advantage, and Dade not happy enough with just one advantage, he wants the red as well.
Yep, going to take the red buff away. Good, cute double dragon there from M3 with both those smites from Looper and Condi. So M3 now, an actually pretty big lead as we look back up to the gold, about 6,000-7,000 ahead already. And we talked about it in the draft, M3, so many team fight ultimates that they've picked here for themselves. And you saw in that last fight, that's exactly what they wanted to do with them. Dade was the only one that didn't contribute.
But the weird thing is World Elite, they just didn't seem to understand that they just don't have the damage to kill Dade. There's no way to kill him. He's gone a super tanky build, has the barrier, and was just sitting there spell vamping up, like you mentioned. Huge health stat to begin with, tankier than even Condi, who's caught out a little bit, but realistically, only a love tap so they can take this out of turret.
Yeah, you'll have to forgive me, actually. I just assumed Dade had died at some point in that team fight. And then all of a sudden, he's cleaning up kills left and right and making sure they completely ace. Nope is right there on Dade. He's very safe.
They just can't kill him, Patron. There's no way to do it. They need, his summoners are down. Maybe you can re-engineer a fight, but we're going to see the replay. Dade already takes the explosive cast, tickles him a little bit. It's a massive ultimate going through Sejuani. Now he's taken another ultimate. He's still at half health. Spell Vamp will start. Looper comes in with some damage. Dade's slowing and doing damage. Just follows onto a Luca. You can see his team members are strong. Dade himself is massively strong. Gets the last kill of the fight. There's no... You look at this comp. Gnar is being built pure tank. Gragas base values aren't going to trouble a 2,500 health barrier Cassiopeia. Orianna doesn't have the items to kill Cassiopeia, and Burst is not the best thing to deal with this huge health stack, and Sivir's going to Sivir. She just isn't able to get in range of Cassiopeia to realistically be able to do damage. If you poke her out, sure. If you see her use her summoners, gank her, absolutely. That was already a successful plan that World Elite were able to put in. But a 5v5 teamfight, there's a reason why I said they couldn't opt into it. And World Elite apparently didn't hear the advice, opted into it, and paid the price. And
I guess the bad news gets worse here for World Elite is Dade's going to start racking up deeps as well. Has the Void stuff now for very cost-efficient damages. SMLZ, that's a few too many friends. Flash into the trees, not where he wanted. And the kill is going to come through. Oh my god! SMLZ somehow outplays them 1v2. Spirit goes down, and dangerous game indeed. Keeps himself alive.
I feel like there was an element of auto-canceling to give the kill over to the right person. Speaking of kills,
yeah, Shockwave comes in, but Dade's already got the first. She is going to get terrified by the Hecarim ulti, and too much damage? No, not enough quite yet. Dade couldn't get back in range, but she is chunked out. M3 have control of this Baron if they want it. Spirit dead for 10 more seconds. Double smite, why not?
They're doing it two-man, though. The blue buff is up. Honestly, they should maybe have just donated this to Cassio. They're doing it without the Cassio. Cassio's only zoning, which might be a smart use of a mana pool. It's high enough that she could be helping, but they just want to pick. Maybe Dade needs to help, though, as Condi's really struggling.
Yeah, Trinity Force Looper actually doing decent damage, but now has to get himself over, not in range of Twin Fang as he throws a couple of spells over. That's actually just enough to make sure Baron damage gets there, but bit of a sneaky Baron there for M3. They'll take it away.
And no scrying orb yet completed by Mystic, so no way to check that. Would have just been another kill to the Dade Fund of Gold with the voice. If we're going to see a replay coming through potentially, no, we're just going to show you the other feed.
Here we go.
So we see the replay coming through. I feel like Spirit gave up in terms of auto attacks. It looks like he's auto attacking, but that was some strange play.
Just didn't literally gave up because he thought the kill happened, and the last auto wasn't enough to kill Mystic. So all he needed from them was another Light Slinger passive. That's what happened. He got the kill. Dangerous game procced, and just a misstep there for World Elite. Thought they got the kill already.
Something cool, guys. Explosions.
Yep.
And the only explosion happened to Spirit.
Yeah, I mean, again, just trusting in the Gragas auto attack damage. Pretty good in the early stages.
He had the Gromp running as well. I can see, look, I can see what he thought he was going to do, but it just did not work out.
Pretty funny to note that Aluka had also hopped himself over Mystic, so couldn't even rejoin the fight. So he had a couple of extra mini. He did mini now for him. He couldn't even get autos
as well. Like when he walked into
He was like, yeah, whatever, I'll hop for damage, hope it's enough. And unfortunately, it was not.
I feel like both teams have had moments they'd rather forget between these two games, but probably not necessarily going to impact the overall result.
Oh, we'll have to see as SMLZ makes a nice stylish play, but his team 10,000 gold ahead. You might just be right about results here as Dade now has a need to see large rod adding in as well. He's already tanky. He's now doing ridiculous damage. The rest of his team coming into their own as far as damage or tanky threats, or in case of Looper, maybe both there as well. And I feel like Dade's playstyle has always been a form that people continually want to seem to kill him, but he likes to build these tanky items for a reason, and in this particular game, on this champion especially, it's paying off magnificently.
You know what the weirdest anachronism is about Dade? We talk about this duo Dade. He really only builds offensive items when he's losing, and he builds like a tank when he's winning. That is the weirdest tip of the hat I've ever seen.
Well, I mean, I guess we've talked about the Magi's, mate. It's kind of a snowball thing. I agree. It's very... Only Dade could be such a polarizing
But his
player.
snowball Bajais is literally, I need to snowball this. My team is really not helping
look,
out.
you're not snowballing with the Mercury Treads, mate, so I kind of understand. As Looper, I believe, stole that red buff away. M3 trying to find a fight, but can't quite get it with the Righteous Glory Annie. But at this point, they're going to run Waterly around the map and just take whatever they want at their leisure.
Look, if all we take away from Dade is that Dade marches the beat of his own drum, I think everyone already knew that, but just that weird an interaction, it's very Dade.
It is very Dade. I mean, maybe hoping that if he's ahead, obviously they're going to try and gank him. So
maybe if he
needs
gets
to
lots of
build
Magi stacks, he can build a GA to go with the 20 Magi stacks. Insurance.
Does that work the way you want it to? I've never tested that.
Well, I mean, it used to. Like when 4 years ago, the standard build was Magi's Rush into GA Rush when you got all the 6 stacks on your roaming Annie.
You know what? One day, maybe one day, Dade will go.
Nobody builds GA anymore, except for tanks when they're losing for some reason.
Same thing, right? It's like, if I had more lives, it'd be fine. I'm really tanky.
Look, the Gragas coming back after dying is not the biggest case, but Spirit tried that on his last Gragas game. Not the best look.
No, and Dade now level 16. Still, again, plenty of items. Cleaning through the minion waves with Twin Fang after Twin Fang. Probably a full stacks for the passive. Haven't quite been able to check in on that, but a third Dragon's going to come in now for M3. Gold leads are just disgusting across the board.
This is Looper needs to look at this and feel much better about him. So it's like, this is where it's supposed to be. 3.5. Basically a Trinity Force up on this.
Yeah.
On this Gnar at this point. Can split push. Gnar's built for team fights, so can't even split push against him. This is what I expect when a Luca picks Gnar against a practice Hecarim. But that's why it was such a surprise to me. That's why I don't think they can afford to do this. And Alucard's just like Pokemon was for Invictus Gaming last split. He's never going to be a carry player, so don't ask him to. And just don't pick yourselves into situations like this where maybe Zatai could have built offensive and smashed Looper on the Hecarim. But if you're going to build for team fight, more often than not, this is what the Hecarim versus Gnar matchup will look for World Elite, given Alucard's on the line.
Yeah, so a redeeming game here for Looper coming in. And now also built for team fights himself. Those carries we talked about, fairly immobile. I mean, Siva, not too bad actually, although short range, is going to suffer when Looper dives in, and GA especially.
Everyone's getting in there in a team fight. Hecarim's going to ult in, Sejuani's going to ult. There's too many things to spell shoot. Even the flash from Dade can go aggressive because he's not really worried about his own life. Doesn't have flash right now, but will it be a possibility? QSS to go with the 3 damage items coming through from Lucian. So not quite the last Whisper, but the armor stack, apart from the random ones, is not there from Waterloo.
I mean, he's got the Rich Man's build there, does that SMLZ. And after that flashy play, I think he deserves a nice Bloodthirster at this stage. So he'll be 4 items fairly soon. He's even got his defensive item already built up, just weaving through the minions, cleaning them out here. And M3, again, we noted this actually in their wins in week 1. Very slow to close out games where they're ahead, possibly to a fault. But if they want to play safe and controlled when it matters, when they're so far ahead, the only thing that could make them lose is Looper maybe diving a turret again and getting a bit silly. I don't mind them playing this safe because when they are getting themselves ahead, they've been assertive, and that's true of this game as well.
So let's recap. Let's assume that Master3 going to win this game. It's looking very likely. What we've learned is that when they're ahead, they're a top team. They play assertively but controlled. They don't take a lot of risks, and they win games when they're ahead. The big question I think that still has to be leveled at Master3 6 games in is, do they have a strategy to win from behind? Because they haven't showed that yet. They're a top team, one ahead. How often will that happen when they really start piling on games against the teams we expect to be in top 4? Because those are matchups that are yet to be seen.
And I think Dade's champion pool, it's almost always going to be a thing we bring up, but in game 1, the LeBlanc pick was fine. He's actually shown a decent amount of growth on the champion all throughout spring, but his Cassiopeia has just looked a completely different thing, a wonderful new champion for Dade. He always gets targeted in bans, I feel like, so he, more than anyone else, knows that he needs a bigger champion pool than maybe most mid-laners because he's such an influential member of his team. I wonder what else Dade can play. I think already he's shown promise, so there's a lot of room in the summer for Dade to learn more champions or possibly bring old ones back as the meta changes. This Cassiopeia pick was, in a weird way, gifted over to Dada, and he's looked great on it once again. But teams aren't going to do this too many more times.
I guess, you know, I actually had some time this game, because of course the last 10 minutes have been very uneventful to process Dade's champion pool. AD Assassins he's wonderful at. AP Assassins he's never been great at. You look at the LeBlanc and you're like, you're playing a really good LeBlanc considering where you were, but you're not Faker, and you're never going to be...
Not even Pawn.
You're not going to be an A+ tier AP Assassin player, at least on LeBlanc. Echo will have to wait and see whether that fits into Dade's champion pool. But he's an excellent AD Assassin player, so what's the difference between the two champs is the split pushing. And Dade's always been very smart about when to split push. Spirit's Court, tanky, but not that tanky.
That's big damage, yeah. SMLZ, even Condi actually at this stage doing plenty of good damage. Looper actually the one with the GA though, as he's just going to now dive with impunity. Not that he wasn't doing that before, but M3 are shredding down the Baron. There's a ward in the back, but the locket's been popped. Good smite from Looper, yeah, and far too fast for Ward Elite.
And now can do whatever they want. This is the control play we expect from Master3. But just to finish the Dade point, split pushing is very smart with. Even team fighting on AD Assassins is smart with. The thing about AP Assassins, not that great at split pushing, so that's not really a realistic option. And they always seem a bit lost as to what to do with a champion like LeBlanc. Even when Dade's fed, they've lost games. So control mages though, I mean, the likes of Ziggs, now Cassiopeia, these champions that you can build Mercs on quite happily and stack health. He's always been a great team fighter, so just stick with the champions that fit your style. You're never going to be able... And your team doesn't seem to play around your LeBlanc anyway. Echo, that's the only big question mark, but I think we all just want AD Assassins to come back in the meta.
I mean, look, Dade's Yasuo is a thing of beauty. I'd love to see him play it once again. As you've noted before, 100% win rate in the LPL for this season.
But that's the thing, even when he's... Because we've seen Dade fall behind a Yasuo in lane, and then just split push his way to a Blade the Ruined King and items, and then team fight like a god. He was uniquely good at team fighting on Zed as well. But the split push is at least the catch-up mechanic. His catch-up mechanic for LeBlanc is buying a Magi's, and that's just doesn't work with anywhere near the same reliability as just getting attack speed, AD, and split pushing.
I mean, Dade, much more of a strategic player, I think. Not a big burst guy, not a big pick guy as well. Likes to get his farm where he can, likes to get his advantages in more strategic-based situations like split pushing or team fighting. IWCI, Cassiopeia certainly fits. Vladimir, another new champion for Dade this season, perfectly fits that mantra there as well. So what else is there for Dade? Xerath is fine, but kind of a weird mix between, as far as team fighting and wave clear goes, kind of in between there as well. LeBlanc, we've already noted for Dade is maybe not his best, and we've seen him play Zed in spring as well, and it's also looked good. Dade is a player that I'm no longer convinced can only play a set amount of champions. I believe he can learn new ones. So
he plays a set type of champions really well.
And that's fine, because there are plenty of those champions. Dade doesn't have to just be the 3 or 4 champion guy. He can have, somewhere up to 10 or so that'll do a similar thing, but do enough differently that he's got options as well.
So let's digress back to this game that hasn't been worth talking about for a good 10 minutes. This has been the Master3 style. They take a second Baron. They've got every advantage in the book. They could turret dive, but they don't really need to risk it. Looper's got a Guardian Angel because now Sivir can never do damage because literally he's going to be on top of her the whole fight. And yeah, Master3, they'll pull the trigger eventually, and barring a catastrophe, and we've already seen a laning catastrophe from Looper, so I guess anything's possible, they should win this game.
They're looking very strong here, just trying to line up the next dive. Got plenty of tools to do so, and Looper going to pressure on with his split push. M3 going to do the same thing down in the bottom side. Dragon's up, but they don't need it. They've got the Baron ticking away, and Looper
Looper can't even clear minions. He doesn't have any AD. There's nothing he can do.
I mean, yeah. Mega Gnar for all the AoE wave clear, not good against the Baron up minions. M3 will eventually give out here and go towards the Dragon, I think, just because they realize they need something. Yeah, a bit of a sigh there is M2 games, again, we've said it, in their wins tend to go long. Just off the top of my head, and this is a scary thing to start thinking about, I feel like M3's victories have an average of 2.5 Barons in them.
And that's not a good look, but there's been teams like EPHK that didn't look like they knew how to win at the start of LPL Spring. I'm like, okay, they're a rookie team, they'll learn. You can't really level that against Master3. They do know how to win. It's just, you're in a team fighting league. You're in the LPL where the best team fighters in the world exist, the likes of EDG. You play like this against EDG, they will punish you for it, even though you're not really making any mistakes and you're getting the safest objectives you can. You can't afford to do that against top team fighters, and you're opening yourselves up to lose a game. This is the sort of game, Sivir games in particular, we've seen lots of Sivir versus Vayne, where Vayne will play perfectly for 5 team fights. They'll lose 1, and then Sivir will out-rotate you and take 2 turrets. This could still happen. World Elite could win 2 team fights this game and win the game. And Master3, I think they need to be more assertive because they'll keep facing better and better opposition, and they will start to get punished for what is assertive, but only really around objectives, League of Legends.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. They're assertive in the mid game when they get their lead.
Neutral camps, they want to kill those.
But once they get their lead, they slow it right down here.
They haven't even broke the base.
No.
In a game that's been literally over in terms of competitive team fights for 20 minutes.
Yeah, and they've got 2 Barons. I mean, maybe slow is deliberate, slow, these sort of words. It's maybe a bit too nice to M3 given the pace of the game, but again, they'll close it out their own style. They're up 20,000 gold, more or less already at this stage. They have options to dive. They can dive if they want to, and we're going to start this dance once again.
In metas past, this was not unusual, but on this meta especially, it's unusual. They've got a Hecarim with Guardian Angel and a 5-item, 4-item, depending on how you want to look at it, Sejuani. Diving is realistic. The Orianna, they've allowed to get into this game enough to actually have a 3-item build and an Aether Wisp, but still, if you don't trust in your tankiness and damage at this point, I think this is a mistake.
Oh, Spirit going in there, trying to make a team fight happen. Sivir ulti popped as well, and you can see World Elite trying to claw their way back in. That is a team that they realistically could have won despite the gold deficit.
All right, Hecarim, just ignore Nah, it's got no damage.
Oh, don't worry, he's ignoring Nah here. Looper is straight onto the turret with the Trinity Force. Luca does have his ulti. Turret going to go low. Ulti, little late there from a Luca, and the turret will fall.
Finally, they break the base. The minion wave still riding from bottom. Are we really going to wait for the 3rd Baron this game?
I mean, that's been the magic number for M3's wins, so I don't want to disappoint anyone out there, but quite possibly.
Look, they don't have the world's best siege, but just dive the turret, kill somebody. They only have like 2 damage threats on this World Elite team. It's exasperating pastry time. It's starting to remind me of King last season, and that is not a good thing.
What about King this season? Very different
King
team.
this season, it's a Starhorn Royal Club. We know this.
Is it? I don't. That's not what it says on the jersey.
Let's not talk about LPL jerseys with the 3 New York Yankees teams.
I think we have significantly less Yankees, actually. I feel like...
That's a good or a bad thing, depending on how you feel about the New York Yankees.
True, but Red Buff going to get stolen away here as well as M3 continuing to take as much as they can. I don't know, maybe there's some KDA padding going on here. They've got some...
Is Looper just looking for the 200 plus 200 CS, and just whenever people quote this result, he'll be like, man, I smashed him game 2.
Maybe. I mean... At this point, it's hard to say what M3 are trying to do, but I think it might even come down to shot calling. We saw in the last game, clearly some iffy shot calling there, just not keeping them together. And sure, again, their mid-game shot calling looks great here. Looper's really trying to win this game by the looks of things.
They're not making any mistakes. They're just not doing anything.
It's playing not to lose rather than playing to win.
When you're 20,000 gold ahead.
Yes, which is...
It's not like this is unseen information. They can look at their items and go, man, we've got some sick items over here.
Yeah, I mean, even if they just ran at World Elite, the fact that they'd back away when that happened probably indicates to you that you're far enough ahead that you can start to take a game. But 3rd Baron's looking like, you know what, it's not even a possibility. It is a reality now, Papa Smithy. Welcome to M3 land, where 3 Barons... No.
Force SMLZ to solo
He really wanted to do the Baron.
They're scared of taking the Baron in this situation where they have exclusive vision. They could have one person peel off like Dade did last fight. They're going to finally fight.
Yeah, they actually find someone there. They'll go in. A good Sejuani ultimate Kondi will kick things off. Spirit's going to be the first one to fall. Looper's going to go in. Aluka goes in, and a good ulti there from Shia is going to keep them in it. Mystic actually gets a kill, but he's going to get shredded by SMLZ. Will go down there as he's kiting back. A double kill there coming in. The ace finally completed for M3, and that'll be the game.
Dade, you almost collapsed their pastry time, but you do finally get to see Master3 win this game. Fights were always going to go like that. It actually got more competitive because they got 20 minutes of safe farm, did World Elite. Master3 take down another controlled victory. Their overall score looks really good. They're 4-2, but their weaknesses, I think, are quite apparent now. You don't need to do a lot of research to see. Closing out games, not their forte. Objective play, very good. And playing from behind, still a big, fat question. Yeah,
Waddle will be happy to pick up their first win here, but not happy to not get the full 3 points. M3 keeping their record looking fairly good as far as matches go. And, of course, both teams will continue their play.